He sat across from me, 71 years old, hands folded like he was trying not to take up too much space. Didn't say much at first, just stared at the floor, like the words were hiding in the cracks. When he finally did speak, it wasn't loud, just a soft, steady whisper that caught in his throat. "Doc, I feel like I've slipped away, and I don't know how to come back." Now, this wasn't a man looking for pity. He was a retired electrician, worked with his hands, raised 2 boys, never asked for much. But he wasn't talking about his job, or his memory, or even his body exactly. He was talking about something quieter. The part of a man that lets him look someone in the eye and say, "I'm still here." That flicker inside, that sense of drive, of strength, of worth. It had gone dim. And the thing is, he thought it was just age, just the way life folds in on you when you've seen too many decades. But that's not what I saw. What I saw was a man whose body hadn't given up. It had just stopped getting what it needed. I'm Dr. Thomas Layton. I spent over 40 years listening to men like him, men who've built homes, carried families, lived through loss, and somehow kept going. But along the way, lost connection with themselves. I never promise magic, but I do offer something better. Truth. Quiet, steady truth. That your body is still capable of strength. That your vitality, your fire, doesn't disappear with age. It dims when the signal gets lost. And sometimes, that signal starts in the most ordinary place, the breakfast table. If you've been feeling off lately, if your mornings feel slow, your spark a little dull, you're not broken. And you're certainly not alone. If this message speaks to you, type 1. If you're unsure, type 0. Either way, thank you for listening. Now let me tell you about Richard. He came in for a routine checkup. 68. Slender. A little worn down, but alert. "Doc," he said, "I'm doing all the right things, walking, cutting back on alcohol, even sleeping better, but I still feel flat." I took a closer look at his labs. Nothing urgent, but his testosterone was low. His circulation was sluggish. He wasn't in crisis, he was just slowly eroding. So I asked him something simple. "What do you eat for breakfast?" He smiled. "Toast and jam, maybe coffee. I'm not much of a breakfast guy." Now, here's something most men don't know. Your first meal isn't just a meal. It's a hormonal signal. It tells your body, am I being starved or am I being supported? So I gave Richard a quiet challenge. "Try this for 2 weeks," I told him. 2 whole eggs in the morning. That's it. Nothing fancy. Just start there. No pills, no powders, no grand diets. Just 2 whole eggs. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Eggs? Really? Haven't we been told for years they're bad for the heart? That was the old story. But the science has changed. We now know from respected sources like Harvard Health and the American Heart Association that dietary cholesterol from eggs has little to no impact on blood cholesterol for most people. In fact, eggs, particularly the yolks, are rich in choline, a nutrient that helps regulate memory, mood, and muscle control. And they're one of the best sources of leucine, an amino acid crucial for rebuilding muscle, especially the deep muscles in your core and pelvic floor that most men don't even know they're losing. And yes, they contain cholesterol. But here's the truth that's often left out. Your body needs cholesterol, the right kind, to make testosterone, the very hormone that supports energy, libido, and mental sharpness. When older men start skipping fat altogether, thinking it's safer, they sometimes starve the very systems they're hoping to protect. So when Richard came back 10 days later, he didn't walk faster. He walked differently, taller, straighter, eyes a little brighter. He sat down and said, "I don't know what's happening, but I feel like I'm waking up." He hadn't changed his life, just his breakfast. 2 eggs gently scrambled in olive oil. No toast, no sugar, just real food. Now, I'm not saying eggs are a cure-all, but I've seen them time and again act like a reset switch. Because they don't just feed the body, they feed something deeper, the part of a man that wants to feel steady again. And here's the beautiful part. These changes, they don't take months. The biology starts shifting almost immediately. In the first 24 hours, your body begins using the protein and choline to rebuild nerve tissue and support neurotransmitters, especially acetylcholine, which helps regulate blood flow and muscle contraction, including where it matters most. By the end of the first week, some men notice their legs feel more stable. Some report firmer morning function, not always dramatic, but consistent. And after 30 days, it's not just the body that changes. It's the voice, the way they speak, the way they walk into a room. Because when a man starts to feel like himself again, his whole presence shifts. He no longer hides his hands. He looks up when he talks. He remembers who he is. And all of it starts with a small, consistent act. Cracking 2 eggs. I remember Harold's voice the day he finally came in. It wasn't full of panic or pain. It was quieter than that. "Doc," he said, "I'm not sick. I'm not even hurting, really. But something in me just went quiet." That kind of silence, that slow fading of spark, it's more common than most men ever admit. They're not falling apart. They're still getting up, still making coffee, still mowing the lawn. But they're doing it with less drive, less sharpness, less presence. Not because they don't care, but because their body has stopped responding. And that loss, it's not just physical, it's emotional. Because when your body doesn't answer the way it used to, it's easy to start asking yourself questions you never thought you'd ask. Is this just who I am now? Am I past the point of coming back? And the answer, the one I've spent 4 decades repeating, is no. You're not past anything. You're just missing the inputs your body still depends on, especially in the morning. Let me explain. Most men over 60 were raised to skip breakfast, or at least rush through it. Toast, maybe coffee, maybe nothing at all. They were told fat was dangerous. Cholesterol was bad. Eggs? A heart attack on a plate. But here's what we know now from places like Harvard Health, Mayo Clinic, and the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. The cholesterol found in eggs does not increase cardiovascular risk for most men. And in fact, moderate egg consumption has been linked to better metabolic health, hormone stability, and muscle maintenance, especially in older adults. Why? Because inside each whole egg is a precise, natural combination of nutrients your body needs, particularly as testosterone declines and muscle tissue starts to waste quietly year by year. 2 eggs in the morning isn't just about hunger. It's about giving your body back the raw materials it hasn't seen in years. Leucine, which stimulates muscle protein synthesis, choline, which supports your liver, nervous system, and blood flow, cholesterol necessary for producing testosterone, the cornerstone of male performance, drive, and presence. That's not marketing. That's biology. I had a man named Bernard, 76, quiet man, sharp mind, but withdrawn. He'd lost his wife years earlier and recently found himself interested in someone again. He was hopeful, but something felt off. He told me, "Doc, I want to connect, but I feel like my body isn't answering the call anymore." He wasn't ashamed, but he was discouraged. We didn't give him supplements or medication. We started with breakfast. 2 soft-boiled eggs, a slice of avocado, a handful of walnuts, real food, simple and complete. 3 weeks later, he returned with a different posture. Eyes up, shoulders square, and a line I won't forget. "I'm not sprinting into life," he said, "but I'm no longer standing at the edge of it." And that's what this is about. Not boosting performance overnight, not chasing youth, but stepping back into your life with steadiness, clarity, and quiet strength. Most men don't realize that the first 60 minutes of their day can shape the next 16 hours. When you start your morning with nutrient-dense, male-supportive food, you shift everything: blood flow, energy, mood, even confidence. And yes, intimacy too. Here's how it unfolds, backed by medical studies and what I've seen with my own patients. Within 24 hours, your body begins breaking down the complete protein and absorbing choline to support neurotransmitters like acetylcholine, vital for muscle contraction and blood flow regulation. By day 7, you may feel more stable. Leg strength improves. Some men wake with firmer, more consistent morning function. Not because they're trying harder, but because their vascular and hormonal systems are starting to re-engage. And after 30 days, that's where the magic happens. You're not just stronger, you're more aware, more present, less foggy, less uncertain. You start remembering who you are, not who you used to be, but the man you still are now. I've watched this shift happen for men in their 60s, 70s, even early 80s. Not in gyms or retreats, but right at their own kitchen table. It always starts the same way, with one decision, made quietly, every morning. To show up, to nourish, to say, I'm not done. Now, I'm not here to prescribe some perfect meal plan, but I do want to give you a gentle framework, the one I've recommended to hundreds of men. 2 eggs, prepared however you enjoy, but keep the yolks. That's where the testosterone support lives. Half an avocado full of healthy fats and magnesium, which helps keep blood vessels soft and nerves steady. Plain Greek yogurt. If you tolerate dairy for protein and gut support, a small bowl of oats with a few crushed walnuts or chia seeds for fiber, nitric oxide support, and stable energy. And water. Always start with a full glass, with a pinch of sea salt to restore morning electrolytes, a trick backed by emerging research on sodium-potassium balance in aging adults. This isn't fancy, but it works. Because it speaks your body's language, and when your body feels respected, it responds. Not with fireworks, but with a flicker, a steadier step, a clearer thought, a stronger presence when you enter a room, and often a softer gaze from someone you love because they see you returning. So let me ask you this. If your body hasn't given up on you, isn't it time to stop giving up on it? If this message speaks to something in you, let that part rise. Not with guilt, not with pressure, but with quiet conviction, because you deserve to feel strong again. Not for anyone else's approval, but so you can look in the mirror and say, I'm still here. I'm still me. There's a quiet moment I've seen again and again. A man sits down after weeks of small changes. A new breakfast, a few walks, less sugar, less pretending. And as we talk maybe about his sleep, or his energy, or the way his jeans fit differently, something softens. He stops fidgeting. His voice steadies. And then he says something like, Doc, I didn't expect it to feel this good, just to feel like myself again. That's what we're really chasing, isn't it? Not a younger version of you, not some highlight reel from the past, but the grounded, steady, real you, the one who walks taller, speaks with quiet weight, holds someone's hand without second-guessing his worth. And if you followed this far, if you've even started to imagine yourself there again, then you already understand the deeper truth. This isn't about food. It's about identity. And identity is something men tend to carry in silence. We don't say, I feel disconnected from myself. We say, I'm tired. I don't sleep well. I'm not in the mood. Or we say nothing at all. But underneath those surface-level complaints is often the same quiet ache. I don't feel like the man I used to be. And that ache, that slow erosion of certainty, doesn't just come from age. It comes from disuse, from undernourishment, from years of waking up and feeding your body confusion instead of clarity. I've said this before, but it bears repeating. The body does not want to shut down. It wants to be trusted again. It wants rhythm, stability, nourishment. And one of the most powerful places to begin is the first hour of your day. That's why I created what I call the morning restoration rhythm. Not a plan, not a program, but a pattern. One that works with your body, not against it. Let me walk you through it. Gently. The first step, water. Not coffee, not juice, not a cold glass pulled from the fridge. Just room temperature water with a pinch of natural sea salt. Why? Because as we age, our electrolyte balance becomes more fragile. We lose sodium and potassium faster. And when we start the day dehydrated, which many older men unknowingly do, our nerves misfire, our blood vessels constrict, and our energy flattens. That small pinch of salt? It signals your body. You're not in danger. You're being supported. And support is everything. Next, breath. Before breakfast, before email, before the world rushes in, take 90 seconds. Inhale slowly through your nose for 4 seconds. Hold for 2. Exhale gently through your nose for 6. Repeat it 4 or 5 times. It may sound too simple, but this kind of breathing, proven in clinical studies, stimulates nitric oxide production. That's the natural gas that opens up your blood vessels, especially the ones responsible for intimacy. It also activates your parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and restore mode, which sets the tone for hormonal recovery and digestion. Then, we eat. Not just to fill your stomach, but to remind your body what it's built for. 2 whole eggs, gently boiled, poached, or scrambled in olive oil. A few slices of avocado rich in potassium, which supports blood pressure. A small bowl of oats, not instant, with chia or walnuts on top. And if you like, a scoop of Greek yogurt for gut health and protein. This meal isn't trendy. It's biological fuel. It supports testosterone. It reduces blood sugar spikes. It softens blood vessels and restores muscle signaling. And when eaten consistently, it starts to do something rare in men over 60. It restores the feedback loop between your body and your identity. You move a little easier. You breathe a little deeper. You respond emotionally and physically with more ease. Not because of a supplement, because your body finally has what it's been asking for. You see, when a man loses his drive, his focus, or his firmness, we often look for something to fix. But the body doesn't want to be fixed. It wants to be heard. And food, consistent, honest food, is one of the purest ways to listen. Now, let me say this. If you miss a day or slip back into old patterns, don't shame yourself. This isn't about perfection. It's about presence. Just show up again the next morning, and again after that, because the results that matter most, they don't show up overnight. They show up in the quiet, in how you carry yourself when no one's watching, in the way your wife glances at you across the table, wondering what's shifted, in how you feel walking into your own bathroom mirror and saying, "There he is," not because you look 30 again, but because you've remembered who you are. I'll leave you with this. You still have fire in you. You still have strength. And maybe most importantly, you still have something to offer the people you love. But you can't pour from an empty cup. So start with breakfast. Start with breath. Start with a promise not to be perfect, but to show up. Because every man deserves to feel like a man again. And that includes you. If this message stirred something in you, don't broadcast it. Just share it with someone who might need it too. A brother, a friend, a man you trust. Because sometimes the quiet words of one man to another, "Hey, try eating like this. It helped me," can light the path for 2 people at once. So, tomorrow morning, when the day is still gentle, feed your body, honor your breath, and remind yourself, you're not finished. You're just returning.